Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. I wanted to do a get to know me video just so because, well, mainly this is a brand new YouTube channel and I wanted to reintroduce myself to some of my previous subscribers who used to tune in for the Alpha Female Chronicles podcast. And also, I wanted to introduce myself to my new subscribers. And I didn't really have an idea of how to do a get to know me video. I consume a lot of YouTube content. I follow a lot of influencers on YouTube. So you would think that with all the content I've been consuming for maybe like the past 4 years, I would have an idea of how to do a get to know me video. But I decided to go on ChatGPT and just type in what are some questions for a get to know me YouTube video, which was a really good idea, actually. Without further ado, let's get to know me. For those who don't know, my name is Lindsay. Actually, because my name is French, my name is Lindsay. I do love the pronunciation in French when it's done correctly. Some people call me Lindsay in French and in English. In French, I prefer Lindsay. There is no D in my first name. I don't know how many times I've had to correct people who've had to write my name. They spelled it in so many creative ways that have made me feel like they were referring to someone else. But in French, my name is Lindsay, Linsay. I was born and raised in Montreal, Canada. For the first 4 years of my life, I used to live in a neighborhood called Montréal Nord. I know some of my subscribers are from Montreal as well, so they do know the area. I grew up on a street named Pascal near Lapierre and Roland. So, for those who know, you know, and that explains why my parents decided to move to another neighborhood when I was 4 years old. We moved to a neighborhood called Rivière des Prairies, also called RDP. And I remember the day we moved there. It was December 22nd, 1989. It was very cold. And the winters back then were real winters, not like the climate change winters where you can go out with a light jacket. But it was a rough winter. I remember that, and I remember, even though I was very young, I remember looking at the apartment and everything was brand new because the apartment building at the time, I think it was like um, maybe 1 or 2 years old or something like that. It was fairly recent. So yeah, I grew up in IDP, going to elementary school there up until yeah, my whole elementary school. I did it in two schools. In the sixth grade, I went to a different school to do an English immersion program. I was already fluent in English, but I don't know, I wanted to try something new. And I love the fact that even at 11 years old, I wanted to push myself to step out of the box and do something completely different. My parents were born in Haiti and they came to Canada in the 1970s. Much like many other Haitians, there was a wave of immigration in the 1970s. Um, and yeah, my parents came assuming for a better life. I have two older siblings. So we're three girls in in my family, and it was an interesting dynamic growing up. especially when most of us were teenagers. So you can imagine mood swings, hormones, and all that jazz. So because I was born and raised in Montreal in a Haitian household, that means that I speak many languages and understand many languages, French, English, and Creole, which is, I mean, I guess it's a bonus to have learned all of these languages and to kind of learn them so, I guess, organically. Um, Hearing all these languages at home, and English, I was able to learn it maybe a bit later as a child, mostly by watching movies, watching TV, especially by watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Family Matters. What inspired me to start a new YouTube channel? So previously, I had the Alpha Females Chronicles YouTube channel that was mostly associated with the podcast, and I had some lifestyle content, and I kind of wanted to rebrand in a way. I was thinking a lot about what the word alpha has been associated with in the past few years. Unfortunately, it does have a negative connotation, even though when I launched my podcast and when I released my poetry collection of the same name, there was no ill intent in talking about the ups and downs of being an alpha female. I always was transparent about what it meant for me to be an alpha female, and there was no glamour about it. It was really the ups and downs, the reality of being an overachiever, of being determined, but also sacrificing self-care at the cost of work and being productive and being successful, trying to redefine my definition of success, and just evaluating my mental health as well. So those were the topics that I was discussing in my podcast, and those were some of the themes that were in my poetry as well. So to me, when I launched it in 2020, I didn't really have this sort of red pill, blue pill ideology. It was just like talking to other women that I know that are alpha females and how they're navigating through life, with, on one hand, you want to be ambitious, you're driven, but on the other hand, you're like, your mind is exhausted and you're wondering, like, is it all worth it? So, unfortunately, not everyone perceives that. I would say that expression positively, and I'm not gonna say that's the main reason why I didn't want to continue with the Alpha Female Chronicles. I was also ready to start a new chapter, and I wanted to create more lifestyle content, and there's so much content that I have to offer, and I'm excited to present it and to share it. So I thought it was the right time to start a new YouTube channel. And the name, The Busy Bee, well, it's kind of related to alpha female. Yes, as an alpha female, as someone who is an overachiever and just works all the time, I sometimes find myself being double booked or triple booked for things, and I often find myself like looking at my calendar and just freaking out because there are no spaces to just chill and relax and have fun with my friends. And that is the definition of a busy bee. Like, you're always busy doing something, and you're not taking the time to be still and just live and breathe and relax. Therefore, I decided to launch the Busy Bee channel, and also the Busy Bee newsletter available on Substack. I'll put the link
at the bottom of the video so you can sign up to the newsletter.
So my mic gave out while I was talking. Thank God that the mic on my iPhone was able to pick up my sound. So that's great.
I'm an e-commerce consultant. I work as a freelancer. I've been freelancing for a year and a half. I used to work a 9 to 5 jobs for many years. I've worked for many retail brands. They're mostly Canadian brands. The last brand I worked for is based in Montreal. They sell beauty products and products for the home. Yeah, the corporate life is something that always kind of befuddled me because of the amount of time that you have to spend working and how much time is wasted in meetings and in useless emails that you have to send, and how many times you get CC'd in things that have nothing to do with your job. And then, there are unrealistic expectations about your performance, your work. One thing I disliked were performance reviews because I felt that HR or directors were always moving the goalposts. So it would make you feel either unaccomplished or not good enough, or that you didn't work hard enough, or that you didn't know enough. Those were my main takeaways of working in corporate. Um, I am technically still working in corporate, but I have the luxury of having a flexible schedule because I do have a client. And fun fact, I was able to secure my last employer as my client. So for me, that was something that my career coach suggested that I do. At first, I was kind of like, I mean, yes, I want to launch my career as a freelancer, but do I really want to go back in a way to my former employer? Because I really wanted to detach myself from anything that reminded me of a corporate life and the stress that it triggered. One of the main reasons why I quit my job was because I was having too many panic attacks. I had a hard time managing my stress, and not just like managing stress, but managing the expectations of the job and how it affected my physical health. I became really worried for my health, for my physical health, and my mental health. I was not well. I was doing a good job at work. My performance or my productivity, like they were not affected, but I was not well. So, and God had put in my heart like a few years ago to just quit the corporate life and just start working on projects using the talents that He's given me. And I was always second guessing everything, even though like God would send me so many messages through sermons and just conversations with people around me just to kind of confirm it. But I had to make that step, I had to make that move. It was very difficult. Um, and also because I am someone who lives with lupus. Lupus affects my energy levels. I have to say, by the grace of God, this is my main symptom. Like, I don't have kidney issues, I don't have issues with my heart, I don't, I don't have blood clots. My main issue, which can be sometimes, it is fatigue is something that affects all areas of your life. Fatigue can make me cancel plans if I don't manage my energy levels, if I don't manage the amount of things I do in a day and the energy that I put into it. I can end up like feeling an overwhelming wave of fatigue like in my body. So I have to be extra conscious about how many things I accomplish in one day and how much time I want to allocate to these tasks. So having to do that every day and having a job that is kind of demanding is very difficult. Like I had a hard time dealing with that, and I'd be a fool to say that I figured it out now. Especially now that I'm a freelancer, I'm still learning, and you would think after almost 20 years of living with lupus, I would have figured it out, but I have not. I have a lot to learn.
I love watching movies, especially classic films, anything that came out in the 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s. I became more interested in classic films, I would say, when I was in university. Although in college, in CEGEP, I did take a intro course to films, and I was able to watch some classic films, if I remember. But definitely university, I invested a bit more time in discovering films. I remember for my journalism class during my last semester at Concordia, um, our teacher wanted us to watch a lot of films that had to do with journalism. And the first film, I think that semester that we were assigned to was Citizen Kane. And I don't know, something happened in my brain when I watched it. I was like, this is amazing because you have to think that movie came out in 1941, and just the effects that they used with the camera. It was black and white, and I thought like, oh my gosh, to have thought of that back in 1941 with the resources that were available in terms of shooting and editing, I thought that is amazing. And it just triggered something in me. It just triggered my love for classic films, and I discovered a lot of actors from the golden age of cinema. Um, Even as a teenager, I remember watching old movies on PBS. And I used to love watching PBS, just in general. PBS is awesome. Yeah, I remember watching movies with Grace Kelly, Cary Grant, Bing Crosby. I remember vividly watching for the first time. Was it High Society? High Society, which is a remake of the movie The Philadelphia Story, which stars Katharine Hepburn, James Stewart, and Cary Grant. High Society, you have Grace Kelly, there's Bing Crosby, there's Louis Armstrong, um, and that's all I can think of right now. So yeah, over the years, I was able to subscribe to TCM, Turner Classic Movies, and it's just great films, 24/7. It's awesome. I love it. And it allows me to learn more about actors and eras of the history of cinema. And also, I just love TCM. I love it. I love watching old movies. I love watching any kind of movie, really. I would say that mostly growing up in the 90s, I watched a lot of action films, maybe not the best films. Um, I think about one in particular that I watched too many times. I don't know why. Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I used to watch it in French. It's just an example of some of the action movies that I used to watch when I was growing up in the 90s. A lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, a lot of Bruce Willis movies, among other things. But I grew up in a family that always gathered around the TV to watch either movies or TV. Like we would just watch TV shows. We would watch like, you know, dramas and soaps and all of that. That was our quality time, just sitting down. And sometimes we would make popcorn and we had like, it was our little quality time, family time in front of the TV. And, some people have opinions about spending that much time in front of a TV screen, but that was what we did. That was how we bonded. Just renting movies. On Friday nights, we would go to the video store. Yes, video store. And there was a special at the video store, with further down my street, where you could rent 3 movies for like $10 for the weekend, and that was awesome. We would spend hours just perusing all the shelves to find the best to watch. I remember I always ended up being the one to have to return the VHS tapes and having to rewind them and bring them back before, I think it was before 7 o'clock on Sundays. Anyways, but yeah, that's something we used to do. I know my up and go to the movies often with her siblings, so she, without knowing, she instilled that in me. There are a lot of maybe old movies that I discovered that my mom's like, yeah, I watched that movie back in the day. You know, I love films. I love watching. My favorite movie, one of my favorite movies, is The Sound of Music. I cherish that movie. I watch it every year. I usually watch it during the holidays. I don't know why, because there's no mention of like Christmas in the movie, but it's just I watch it every December. I watch it. Another movie I watch every December. I don't know why I created this tradition for myself. I started it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Um, I when I decorate my Christmas tree, I watch American Gangster. It has absolutely nothing to do with Christmas. But I don't know. Like there was, I think it was 3 years ago. I wanted to, put my Christmas tree up, and I usually like to like leave the TV on or something. And I was like, you know what? I want to watch American Gangster, and I did. And I was putting up my tree, and I was like, this could be a thing. This could be a thing. So it's a thing. In December, you know what I'll be watching. I'll be watching 2 movies, American Gangster and The Sound of Music. But other than that, I have so many movies that I love, that I watch over and over again. Movies that I know, like, all, like, I can quote without, like, any problem. Clueless. I watch Clueless so many times in English and French. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so many classic films as well that I love. Anything with Cary Grant. I love my favorite Cary Grant movie is, oh my gosh, it is Affair to Remember. That's a Christmas movie. That's a holiday movie. Yes, because there's a scene, I think at the end. It's New Year's, so yes, that's a Christmas movie. An Affair to Remember. I don't think I would have time in this video to talk about all the films that I love, and that's a great idea for another video. I love to shop. I love fashion. That's another thing that my mom instilled in me growing up. My mom is a seamstress. So growing up, my sisters and I would watch my mom sew clothes and create the most fabulous clothes for any occasion. She would make our dresses that we would wear to church growing up. Whenever there was an event coming up, like a party or a wedding, that always meant that, I was getting a new dress. So, what I really loved growing up was to go fabric shopping with my mom. We would go on Saint Hubert Street, which is known to have a lot of shops for anyone who sews or anything like that. And, my mom, because she was a regular customer, she was able to negotiate at times. I remember going on Saint Hubert with my mom around prom time when I was in my last year of high school. And I remember going to a shop with her, and I saw this beautiful fabric and I totally fell in love with it. And my mom was negotiating the prices with the store owner, and the way she went about it, at some point I was like, Mom, and she was like, what? And she was able to get her price, you know? But hey, yeah, so my love for fashion came from my mom, and just growing up as a child, I learned so much about fashion designers, about the craftsmanship of clothes, and how much time is dedicated to creating beautiful clothes. So I've had that appreciation at a young age. And I was able to see that fashion is not just clothes or trends, it's really art. To see my mom sewing something to make something out of nothing, and to see something come out and be so beautiful and timeless, and you see the quality of the work, you see the effort. Like I saw the effort. Like I had like I would say like behind the scenes access to how clothes are made. And I know it's a privilege to see that. So when I shop, like I'm very picky about my clothes, because I look at the way something is sewn. I look at like the cut of a clothes, and I look at the silhouette that it creates on my body. And there are a lot of times I'm like, this ain't it. Like I'm looking at like, you know, a skirt or a blouse, a top, and I'm like, what is this? I remember I used to work in retail in stores, and I was working in one store in particular. Every time I would look at the clothes, I'm like, "What is this? Like this is not this is not done properly." But again, that's what happens with fast fashion. There's not, it's not like when you compare fast fashion to other brands or other fashion houses, for sure it's not going to be the same quality, and especially it's not going to be the same quality as something that's custom made, right? So yeah, my love for fashion, that's where it comes from. I love fashion. I love fashion history. I'm not into trends or fads. I'm not someone who wears like um, logos on my clothes or brand names on my clothes. That's just me. Um, no shade to anybody who does, but I'm not into like displaying logos or anything. I love things that are timeless, that just look good, feel good, make me feel good. Um, Something that looks stylish, not necessarily trendy or fad. Um, there are some things that I can't stand in fashion trends. Certain items that I probably will never wear. One thing that I can't stand are Crocs. Not a fan of Crocs. I've been told they're very comfortable, but they're not on brand for me. I don't like them. I don't think they look good. Even when you put those little buttons on them, or pins, or whatever you call it, I don't like them. And I don't think I'll be wearing any Crocs anytime soon. That is my opinion. Don't like I don't think that they would look good on my feet. I don't think I would enjoy watching them on my feet, looking at them on my feet. Therefore, I shall not wear them. Again, my opinion. You can have your own opinion, but as for me in my house, there will be no Crocs.